All right, Panthers, we're going to take notes today called More Long Division. So get out your math notebook, the one that I entitled Math Semester 1. This is the one with the table of contents in it. Go to the table of contents, write down the date, the title, and the page number. So for me, the date is 8/31/2020. The title is More Long Division. I'm on page 2. You're probably on page 2 as well. Okay, so get your table of contents set up. If you need more time, pause the video till you have this set up correctly. Once you set that up, go to whatever page you're on. I happen to be on page 2. Go to page 2, write down the title, More Long Division. One thing we didn't do last time in the notes for long division was talk about vocabulary, so let's do that right now. Let's say we had an easy problem like 45 divided by 9. Okay, so you should be able to do that one mentally. What number is, well, here's one way to think about it, by the way. When you're doing dividing, think about what number can you multiply by 9 to equal 45. So dividing can be checked by multiplying. If you know what number multiplied by 9 is 45, you know the answer. It's 5. There we go. Now, what are these numbers called? That's the vocabulary I want to discuss with you right now. One of these numbers is called the divisor. Which one do you think is called the divisor? If you guessed that 9 is the divisor, you are right. Okay, one of these numbers is called the dividend. Which one is called the dividend? That would be 45. 45 is called the dividend. All right, and lastly, what do you call the answer? The answer is 5, but what do you call that thing? Okay, the answer to a division problem is called the quotient. All right, so put this in your math notebook so you know which one is the dividend, the divisor, and the quotient. All right, next, what about if you were to use this division sign? Think about how you would write the same exact problem, but using that division sign. Which of the numbers would go first? Would it be the 9 or the 45 or the 5? It would be the 45. It would be 45 divided by 9 equals 5. So in this case, the dividend is the first number, the divisor is the second number. Still, the answer is the quotient. So 45 divided by 9 could be written this way or this way. All right, now let's take a look at using long division, using dividends and divisors to find the quotient. But we're going to do long division with multi-digit numbers. Instead of dividing by a one-digit number, let's try dividing by a two-digit number. Again, at any point, if I'm going too fast, feel free to pause the video so you can get caught up. Okay, let's try a problem like this. 8,372 divided by 68. All right, now when we were dividing by 6s or 3s, it was easy because we know our 6 times tables, we know our 3 times tables. Even if you were kind of like not so sure on those times tables, what I encourage you to do is write down your 6s or 3s over here. But in this one, I don't know my 68 times tables, and I'm not going to encourage you to write down all of your 68s down here. That would take too long. So here's how we're going to do this problem. We're still going to start with the hangman blanks. We've got a blank for the thousands place, the hundreds place, tens and ones. So each digit in the dividend gets a blank in the quotient that goes above it. All right, so first, how many times will 68 divide into 8? Now 68 is way bigger than 8. That tells you it's going to divide in there no times at all. In fact, even if you put a 1 right there, 1 times 68 is way too big. So that tells me we're not going to need a digit for the thousands place. All right, so what about 68 into 83? This time 68 will fit into 83. Now if you did 1 times 68, that gets you pretty close. Maybe you're not sure if it's a 1 or a 2. So if you're not sure, let's say you're like, maybe it's a 2. Well, go off to the side and try 2. And again, to get the answer, even though we're dividing, you could check it with multiplying. So we're just going to check by doing 68 times 2 to see if that works. So we're going to multiply this out. 136. 136 is too big because we're trying to get 83, which tells me that 2 is too big, so I need a 1. All right, what is 1 times 68? Easy. Remember that does McDonald's sell burgers thing? So it's divide and get 1, then multiply, and then does McDonald's sell burgers. Next is subtract. So you subtract these here. That's going to be 15. And after you subtract, you bring down. All right, so now we've got to try to fill in this blank. And again, even though it's dividing, I think about it in terms of multiplying. What number multiplied by 68 gets me close to this? Now the cool thing is, I've already tried 2, and that's pretty close. Maybe 2 is the answer. Maybe it's 3. So let's try 68 times 3. What I would recommend is when we're doing these multiplication problems over here, do not erase them. Even though this was the wrong answer for this blank, it might end up being the right answer for this blank. But let me try 3. 3 times 8, 3 times 6 plus 2. That's too big. So 3 was too big. So it turns out, even though this was wrong for the first blank, it is right for the second blank. 2 goes there. 2 times 68, I've already done that. Right there is 136. And now I subtract. And after I subtract, I bring down. Now I've got to figure out one more blank. What number times 68 gets me close to 210? Check this out. Even though 3 was the wrong guess for the last blank, this is pretty close. That's the right guess this time. So this is going to be a 3 right there. 3 times 68, I've already got the answer. It's 204. And now I can subtract to find our remainder. The remainder is 6. Now remember, what you can do with that remainder is you can make it part of a fraction. So the remainder is your numerator, and the divisor is your denominator. The answer is 123 and 6/68. One thing we didn't do last time when we were taking notes on long division that we are going to do right now is when we get this fraction, we should see if we could simplify it. And when I say simplified, I mean, is there a common factor for 6 and 68? In this case, I know that they're both divisible by 2. Think of your divisibility rules. If that number is even and if that number is even, divide them both by 2. So now we're going to keep the same whole number, 123. But now the fraction is going to be this. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 68 divided by 2 is 34. All right, so now I've got this answer. Now can I still have a common factor for 3 and 34? The only number I could think of to divide into 3 is 3. Will 3 divide into 34? Remember, the rule is add up the digits. 3 plus 4 is 7. 3 doesn't go into 7. That means that I can't divide that by 3, which means that this is already in simplest form. The answer is 123 and 3/34. Okay, let's do one more example of a bigger division problem dividing by a 2-digit number. All right, let's say we had 9,051 divided by 24. Now again, you might not know your 24 times tables, but we can still complete this division problem. Start with your hangman blanks. One blank above each digit. 24 to 9. 24 is bigger than 9. It's not going to fit in there. That tells me 0 goes in this place, which means I don't need that digit right there. Okay, what about 24 into 90? 24 is smaller than 90, so it will fit in there. The question is how many times? Now what you might do is this. 24 is kind of close to 25, and I can count by 25s. I'm trying to get close to 90, so go 25, 50, 75, 100. 100 is too big, so 25, 50, 75. That's 3. I'll bet you the answer is 3. Now to check to see if it's 3, you go off to the side and you do 24 times 3. 72. Now 72 is a little bit too low, so maybe you would try 4 to see if 4 is better. 96 is too high, so 3 was the right number. Okay, so what is 3 times 24? We already got that, 72. Now subtract, and then bring down. Okay, so now what number times by 24 gets me close to 185? 4 is too small. What do you want to try, like a 5 or a 6? I'm going to try a 6. So 24 times 6. That's 144. That's even bigger though. Let's try a 7. Let's try 24 times 7. That's 168. Maybe it's 8. Let's try 8. Well, that's too big. So notice it's a lot of guess and check. I guessed a 6, it was too small. I guessed a 7, it was a little small. I guessed an 8, it was too big. But now after all this guess and check, I know that 7 was the one I want. So 7 goes in the blank. 7 times 24 is 168. And we subtract those. 17. Now bring down the 1. Okay, what number times 24 gets us close to 171? Now the cool thing is, I've already done all this guess and check work, and I already have the answer on here. Which one of these got closest to 171? 192 is too big. It's a 168 again, so it's 7 again. 7 times 24, 168. Subtract, let's see what our remainder is. The remainder is 3. Okay, so the final answer is 377 with a remainder of 3, which means it's 377, and the fraction would be 3 over 24. 3 because it's the remainder, 24 because it's the divisor. Now, last thing, can you simplify 3 over 24? Meaning, is there a common factor for 3 and 24? The only factor of 3 other than 1 is 3 itself. But does 3 divide into 24? The answer is yes. And so now let's simplify that. The whole number is the same, 377. And what's the fraction? 3 divided by 3 is 1. 24 divided by 3 is 8. There's your answer, 377 and 1/8. All right, so that's long division with bigger divisors. Speaking of divisors, which one of these numbers is the divisor? The 9051, the 24, or the 377 and 1/8? Which one's the divisor? It is 24. If that's the divisor, then what do you call this number, the 9051? What do you call that number? It is the dividend. And if that's the dividend, what do you call the answer? The answer is called the quotient. All right, so make sure you have that all in your math notebook, and we'll see you next time.